Today's quote comes from John Jay, one of the key founding fathers and the first Chief Justice of the United States. He said, "No power on earth has a right to take our property from us without our consent." John Jay delivered this quote as part of the broader discussion about individual rights, particularly property rights, during the American Revolution. At the time, colonists grew increasingly frustrated with Britain's policies, like taxation without representation. Jay's words captured the deep belief that individual ownership and property were fundamental rights that no government or king could violate without permission. In the 18th century, property wasn't just about land or wealth, it symbolized personal freedom and autonomy. When Britain imposed taxes and seized property without colonial consent, it was seen as a direct attack on liberty. This sentiment helped fuel the revolutionary spirit that eventually led to independence. Let's break down the quote, "No power on earth has a right to take our property from us without our consent." What Jay is saying here is that individual ownership is sacred. It's a core principle of freedom that no government, ruler, or authority has the right to take away what belongs to us without our agreement. This idea was revolutionary then, but it remains central to how we think about personal rights today. At its heart, this quote is about consent. It's about the idea that government power is not absolute. It must be based on the people's will. Jay and the other founding fathers believed that liberty would be in constant danger without this principle. John Jay was a brilliant diplomat, lawyer, and statesman. He was critical in negotiating the Treaty of Paris, which ended the American Revolution. A deep commitment to justice, law, and individual rights marked Jay's life. Jay was also one of the authors of the Federalist Papers, a series of essays advocating for the ratification of the U.S. Constitution. His legal mind helped shape our government's framework, particularly regarding checks and balances on power. Jay's words echo the broader themes of the American Revolution and the fight for self-determination. His statement about property rights reflects the colonists' resistance to unjust laws like the Stamp Act and the Tea Act, which imposed taxes without giving them any voice in Parliament. This idea became foundational in American thought and led to the inclusion of protections for property rights in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It's also important to note that this quote influenced Americans' views of taxation and representation. Jay's belief in consent laid the groundwork for the principle of no taxation without representation and the notion that the government should serve the people, not the other way around. So, how does Jay's message apply today? In modern society, we often discuss the role of government in regulating property, wealth, and taxes. Jay's quote reminds us that governments must respect individual rights and cannot act unilaterally without the consent of the governed. Today's debates around property rights, taxation, and government intervention still echo the ideas Jay defended. Whether we're talking about taxes, eminent domain, or personal freedoms, this principle of consent remains at the heart of democratic governance. What do you think? How do you feel about balancing individual rights and government power today? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how John Jay's quote applies to today's world. Do you believe governments always respect property rights? How do we ensure that individual freedoms are upheld in modern society? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss liberty and consent. John Jay's words remind us of the importance of property rights and the role of consent in safeguarding our freedoms. By understanding these founding principles, we can better navigate today's challenges and ensure that liberty remains secure for future generations. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this reflection on the Founding Fathers' wisdom, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next video.